Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you an energy update for the entire month of August, and there will be a special emphasis on the Lion's Gate, which happens on August 8th, 2023. What I normally do for these updates is share 3 to 5 themes, things you may be going through, lessons you may be learning, transformations you may be experiencing, etc., to help you become aware so you can get the most out of it. Because what I found in having this YouTube channel is there's a lot of people that seem to be going through kind of a similar process, exploring various themes. And the purpose of this video is to share those with you. Number 1, I wrote down adjusting to higher frequencies. It's kind of one of those interesting things where the more you raise your frequency, even though it's like you're revving faster, you're revving at a higher rate, you're more high vibe, temporarily, it can be tiresome to the physical body. It can cause reactions in the emotional body. It can even play out in your daily life where there's more change going on. There's more things that are triggering you and stacking on your plate. And it can be kind of an overwhelming experience temporarily. But here we are in August, the Lion's Gate is a few days away, and there is a very powerful high frequency charge coming in, and it might be affecting you in a variety of different ways with a variety of different symptoms. Maybe you're not sleeping well because you're wired all the time. Consequently, you might be fatigued and feeling a little bit burnt out, and yet you have a million things going on, and it can be kind of this overwhelming experience as we adjust to these higher frequencies. Also, it can make you more perceptive, more aware of your intuitive knowings about things. You might just be able to kind of sense to the very root and heart of various matters in your life. You can see people's truths very, very clearly, even if it's very different from what they're kind of presenting to you. You can also feel more like you're going through an expansion psychically as well. We are tuning into a variety of things. For some of you, it might be the extraterrestrial connections, or just there's an awareness that the extraterrestrial presence on planet Earth is kind of a big part of this grand awakening. And you might just be finding yourself learning about that, having dreams, things like that. You know, for me, I always know this is happening because I tend to connect with deceased loved ones. The other day, one of my dogs, Morrison, this beautiful little pit bull that we adopted many years ago, he was in my dream, and I just woke up feeling his presence, feeling a very strong love for him. And I even have this intuition that he might be reincarnated into my new dog. So without going off on this wild esoteric tangent, these are some of the things that I tend to sometimes think about while I'm going through these vibrational spikes, because it is sort of blasting you and tapping you into these other dimensions of yourself. And all of a sudden, instead of these ideas you read in a book or watch in a YouTube video, they're slowly seeping in to your normal everyday experience. And that too can be an adjustment. That too can take some time to kind of wrap your mind around. Because as much as we think we want to know it all, know the origin of our soul, know all the different star systems we're connected to, the reality of that is that there are biological ramifications, because that information carries a certain frequency that we are just slowly easing into, which is why it comes on in these gradual waves. But we are going through a wave right now. Real quick before I move on, there was a time in my life where I was really hell-bent on connecting with extraterrestrials. And then one time I drank San Pedro, which is like a cactus psychedelic medicine, and I went and laid down on my bed because it was coming on strong. And I had this feeling and almost experience that certain extraterrestrials were kind of coming into my presence. And even though it's kind of what I've been wanting, at least I thought, once it started to freaking happen, I was like, nope, not today. I'm not ready for that. The reality of it, when you really are in the presence of these very foreign, higher frequencies, it brings up a lot of fear for some of us. So anyway, That's why I really wanted to emphasize that right now is an adjustment period. And as we're adjusting, we don't always feel good. We don't, even though we're like improving and raising and like going higher spiritually, emotionally, mentally, vibrationally, the road can be a little bit rocky as we transition. So if you feel a little bit tired, you're not sleeping well, you feel a little bit hypersensitive, or maybe you just have a lot of different, your own pieces of your own shadow coming up that you're trying to assimilate, it's okay. It's part of it. And eventually it kind of like plateaus. And then once it plateaus, which will probably happen mid-month, I would say, if I had to guess, that's when we start to feel settled in. And that's when our reality, like our external reality, kind of settles down. And we get to enjoy the fruits of our labor. We get to enjoy the benefits of that adjustment period. Number 2, I wrote down finding your zone of genius. A lot of you don't know what I mean by that. The zone of genius is a reference from a book I read called The Big Leap by an author named Gay Hendricks. I've explained this before on my channel, so I'll keep it brief. But essentially, we all have these different zones. There's the zone of incompetence, things you're naturally not good at. Like, for example, some people are really smart, I've known, really intelligent, really a good head on their shoulders, a lot of common sense, really successful, but they didn't do good in school. That framework of learning, they didn't perform well in. So that, maybe like memorizing, passages out of your history book and regurgitating them on a test, maybe for some of you, that's your zone of incompetence. That's something you're just not naturally good at. For me, I'm not naturally good at fixing things around the house, okay? Then there's the zone of excellence. This is something you're very good at. Most of your zones of excellence, you put a lot of time and energy into. It might be your current job, which you're really good at. But then there's the zone of genius. This is something that doesn't even present itself necessarily early in life. A lot of times a person does have to go through a bit of a spiritual awakening where they get to know themselves on a deeper level before they even get to uncover this other dimension of themselves. And it can be very different than your zone of excellence, or definitely different than your zone of incompetence. But anyway, right now what I'm trying to say is that you might find yourself becoming very aware of where you really shine. Parallel to that, you might be also aware of where you're wasting your energy. All of us wake up with like this finite reservoir of like physical energy, obviously, creative energy. And you might find there's this area, this zone of genius, where when you put your energy into it, even a little bit, it's like very fulfilling for you, and there's a big ripple effect. And it seems like, well, this makes the most sense. This moves the needle in my life and maybe other people's lives the most. And you might realize you're not able to put as much time into that as you feel you should be. And you look around and you can see other areas of your life where you are demanding a lot of your energy, draining you, so you can't do your mission, your purpose, etc. And now is a good time to make those changes, make those adjustments. And the adjustments are easier for some than others. Some of you, a lot of people go through, honestly, where they realize their entire job is sucking every ounce of vitality out of them, leaving them no room to perform their zone of genius that they're now awake to. And it's like, what do I do? I'm trapped. You're never trapped. You're never trapped. Once you start to become aware of this purpose of yours, the universe, if you're willing to follow your intuition, the universe will make a way for you. But there is an adjustment there with that as well. For some of you, it's just speaking up, speaking your mind, saying, hey, this is not working for me. Having one of those like honest conversations, setting a boundary and saying, I'm not gonna pick up the phone every time you call if you're just gonna vent to me about your girlfriend and for an hour, and it's not productive for you, it sucks the life out of me, I need my time. Maybe it might be something like that. But regardless, you might find yourself with this feeling of it's almost unfair. You might feel like some of the things you're putting your energy to is not coming back to you in the way that you deserve. And for a long time, you may have been okay with that. But now, because you've been continuing to grow spiritually, which usually results in increased amounts of self-love, self-respect, self-empowerment, you realize, this is no longer working for me. And that's when you can set that boundary. And that will free up a lot of your bandwidth to really put into your zone of genius, which is really needed right now. Because in my honest opinion, what I see happening is there's a planet of a lot of people who are very asleep, living very unconscious, disempowered lives. And what we're seeing, this earth circumstance, is like a ramification of so many people way out of alignment with who they really are. And there's people like you finally waking up to like who they are, where they fit in the world. But then we have a choice. Because sometimes it's a jump. Sometimes it's scary to go from who we thought we were our entire life to who we now, as of recently, know ourselves to be, which is very different than who we thought we were. And it takes a tremendous amount of courage and persistence and willingness to trust your intuition no matter what. But that's what really needs to happen, in my opinion, is more and more people need to finally get into alignment, step into their power, step into their purpose, start shining their light, allowing other people to see your shining example so they realize they can do it too. So they realize that they can transcend and transmute their own circumstance, karma, darkness, etc. as well. But it starts with people like you who are actually awake to who you really are. And the way I kind of framed it earlier, finding your zone of genius, is basically my way of saying what I just said a second ago. It's a time to really embrace your purpose, whatever that looks like. And number 3, taking your foot off the brakes. What I mean by that is you might find that, kind of going off of what I just said, you might feel this pull to step more deeply into your purpose, and also you're kind of becoming aware of how you're stopping yourself. You put the brakes on. This is so common when people especially feel called to do something very impactful, because there's almost a very common theme of guilt that can weigh people down, where you feel bad shining. Reminds me of my wife, Patty, one time. I may have shared this story before, but my wife can sing very, very well. She's a beautiful singer. A lot of you may have heard her during these breathwork ceremonies I do. Anyway, when she was in high school, she was doing a performance at school, and also her sister can sing very well. She's an opera singer, kind of different. But anyway, they both had a performance that night. And then finally, once they were both done, and her sister, Patty and her sister, came down from the stage. Patty's family was there, and everybody gave attention and praise to Patty. And then Patty just had this glance when she saw the look on her sister's face was like disappointment. Like, why I was up there too. Why are they not noticing me? And in that moment, Patty felt bad. She realized that shining hurts people's feelings. It's not actually true, but there was an experience that caused that belief to get stuck and to grow in her subconscious mind, which translated in her not singing. I didn't know my wife could sing literally for like 10 years after meeting her, after like living with her and marrying her basically. After we were married, I came home from work one day and she was singing, and I was absolutely blown away. And I was actually upset because she's that good. I said, why? Why are you not singing way more? So the point is, there came a point where Patty realized that there's this unconscious guilt that has been preventing her from singing her song. We all have a song to sing. We all have medicine to share. And it's okay to do so. It's necessary. And even if your light does kick up other people's shadow, which oftentimes it does, that's also helpful for them. It doesn't serve them to enable. It's probably what they need, maybe exactly what they need to sit with the uncomfortable feeling of their own shadow in the presence of the frequency you put out there, so they can become aware of it. But if everybody tiptoes around it because they don't like when their people in their life feel bad, then it's still there in them, but it's unconscious and it's still affecting their life. So anyway, my friend, it's a time to shine. It's a time to really examine your guilt. Examine whatever it is in your mind that's been holding you back from being who you know it's time, and has probably been time for quite some time, to be, to become. Because me saying this isn't enough normally. You could realize, oh yeah, there's something there, but what I find is that it is very important to examine it yourself so you can really see the logic. Like for example, for me, and I've shared before, I allowed this misaligned, this sort of false belief that if I get too big on YouTube, I'll be a bad father. And to me, like when it comes down to like the core of me, as much as I feel called to like do this YouTube thing, I would rather sabotage that and make that smaller because I would rather not. It's more important to me to be a good father than it is to be a successful YouTuber. But that's not even true. Being a good YouTuber doesn't necessarily mean I'll be a bad father. Singing and doing your passion doesn't necessarily mean it's going to hurt all your loved ones' feelings and make them feel bad. So this examining of guilt can be very necessary, and it comes along oftentimes as we really start stepping into our power and our worth. A lot of people reach out and they say, Vic, how do I feel worthy? Well, a lot of you are starting to feel worthy, but now it's time to start acting like it, setting those boundaries, not putting your energy into things that don't make sense, that are in a sense beneath you, that you are better. Now you're awake to, I am better than this. I have more to offer the world than this. Boundary. Oh, but I feel bad. No, now is the time to like be your full self. Yes, it's going to piss people off. Yes, it's going to trigger people. Yes, it's going to maybe create some changes and transformations in the world and people around you. But we didn't come here to like hide under a rock with our enlightenment. We came here to be an example, to be the change we wish to see in the world. This collective needs badly to be shaken up. And that's what a lot of you do. You shake people up with your energy. You might be that you're probably the nicest person in the world, and yet you can walk into a room and upset people somehow for no reason. It is not no reason, it's your energy. But a lot of people, as they start to tap into the energy, they have a foot on the gas and a foot on the brakes, and it's like, Imagine how happy you would be, how fulfilled you would be, how many people you could help if you just remove that brake pedal. It's time to take your foot off the brakes and let yourself soar, let yourself be abundant, let yourself shine. The universe wants to support people on their purpose. I guarantee it. You just test it. Test it. Follow that feeling inside of yourself that's saying, you can do this. You will succeed. It is your soul's mission. Go for it. You just see what happens, my friend. The universe can come to your aid and support you in very magical ways. And I've experienced it time and time and time again. It doesn't have to be this hard uphill climb. You can just sort of float up in a way when you finally stop holding yourself down. Okay, my friends, thank you for listening and watching. Before I go, I want to share with you something I'm doing kind of unique this month. I call it the 7-Day Intuition Masterclass. It's a series of workshops involving QHHT, somatic release breathwork, automatic writing, pineal activation, Kundalini yoga, different things that will enhance your intuition. And I'll leave a link down below if you want to learn more about it. It's something I ran live with a live group of people online a couple of years ago, but now I've just recently repackaged it and made it available to everybody. And if you want to learn more about that, I'll leave a link down below. With that said, have an amazing day, my friends. Much love.